What if I told you that the most important creatures in Earth's history weren't mighty dinosaurs or towering redwoods, but organisms so small you'd need a microscope to see them? What if the real architects of our world, the true pioneers who made complex life possible, were invisible to the naked eye? Tonight, we're embarking on an extraordinary journey back through time, not to visit ancient civilizations or massive creatures, but to meet the microscopic heroes who literally built the foundation of life as we know it. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine Earth 4 billion years ago. There are no continents as we know them, no blue skies, no forests whispering in the wind. Instead, picture a world of roiling volcanic activity, where the very air would be toxic to us, where the oceans are a chemical soup of possibility. This is where our story begins, in a world so alien it might as well be another planet entirely. Yet in this seemingly hostile environment, something miraculous was about to happen. The first spark of life was about to ignite, and it would come from the most unlikely of sources. You see, while we often think of life as fragile, requiring perfect conditions to survive, the truth is far more extraordinary. Life, it turns out, is incredibly tenacious, incredibly creative, and it found a way to not just survive in these harsh early conditions, but to thrive and ultimately transform our entire planet. These first life forms were microbes, ancient bacterial communities that possessed an almost supernatural ability to adapt, survive, and eventually reshape Earth's entire atmosphere, geology, and destiny. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. These aren't just dusty relics of the past. Many of these ancient microbes are still with us today, still thriving in extreme environments, still carrying on the same fundamental processes that began billions of years ago. They're living time capsules, offering us a direct connection to Earth's deepest past and perhaps even clues about life beyond our planet. Before we dive deeper into this incredible story, I'm curious about something. Where are you watching from right now, and what time is it there? Drop a comment below and let me know your location and the time. Are you settling in for the night somewhere in Europe? Maybe it's early morning in Asia, or perhaps you're taking a peaceful break during your day in the Americas. I love knowing that we're all connected across time zones, sharing this moment of wonder about our planet's ancient past. A whispering planet, our ancient beginnings. To truly understand the magnitude of what ancient microbes accomplished, we need to travel back in time, far beyond recorded history, beyond the age of dinosaurs, beyond even the formation of complex cells. We need to go back approximately 4 billion years, to a period geologists call the Archean, when Earth was still finding its rhythm as a planet. Picture this ancient world in your mind. The Earth's surface was a patchwork of volcanic activity and newly forming landmasses. The atmosphere contained virtually no oxygen, instead dominated by methane, ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and carbon dioxide. The sun was about 25% dimmer than it is today, yet paradoxically, Earth's surface was often much hotter due to intense volcanic activity and a thicker atmosphere that trapped heat more effectively than today's climate system. The oceans, newly condensed from water vapor as the planet cooled, were vastly different from the crystal blue waters we know today. These primordial seas were rich in dissolved iron, giving them a greenish tint, and they contained a cocktail of chemicals that would be deadly to most modern life forms. Yet it was precisely in these seemingly hostile conditions that life first emerged, and it did so in a form so perfectly adapted to this harsh environment that it not only survived but began the long process of transforming the entire planet. The first microbes appeared in environments that we would consider utterly uninhabitable. Deep ocean hydrothermal vents, where superheated water rich in sulfur compounds erupted from the seafloor. Hot springs where temperatures soared well above the boiling point of water. Highly acidic pools where the pH levels would dissolve metal. These extreme environments, which we now call extremophile habitats, were the cradles of life on Earth. What makes this even more remarkable is that these early microbes didn't just passively survive in these conditions, they actively thrived, developing metabolic processes that were perfectly suited to their harsh environment. Some learned to derive energy from sulfur compounds, others from methane, and still others from the chemical energy released by radioactive decay in rocks. They were the ultimate survivors, capable of extracting sustenance from sources that modern life forms couldn't even begin to utilize. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of these early microbes was their ability to work together. Even at this fundamental level of life, cooperation was key to survival. These microscopic organisms began forming communities, creating the first biofilms and microbial mats that would carpet the seafloor and eventually give rise to some of the most important geological structures in Earth's history. As you listen to this story, take a moment to reflect on the incredible resilience that characterized life from its very beginning. These weren't simple, primitive organisms struggling to survive. They were sophisticated, highly adapted life forms that had already mastered the art of community living, energy production, and environmental adaptation. In many ways, they were more versatile and resilient than many complex organisms that exist today. The evidence for these ancient microbial communities comes to us in the form of some of Earth's oldest rocks and fossils. In places like the Pilbara region of Western Australia and the Barberton Greenstone Belt in South Africa, we can find rock formations that are over 3 billion years old, containing chemical signatures and microscopic structures that tell us about these earliest life forms. These rocks are like ancient libraries, preserving the story of life's earliest chapters in their mineral pages. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from analyzing the isotope ratios of carbon and sulfur in these ancient rocks. Living organisms process these elements in very specific ways, creating distinctive chemical fingerprints that persist long after the organisms themselves have vanished. When we find these signatures in rocks that are billions of years old, we're essentially reading the chemical diary of ancient life, understanding not just that these organisms existed, but how they lived, what they ate, and how they interacted with their environment. The architects of our atmosphere. Now, let's fast forward about 500 million years to approximately 2.5 billion years ago, to witness one of the most dramatic transformations in Earth's history. This is when a particular group of ancient microbes began what scientists call the Great Oxidation Event, a planetary-scale transformation that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of life on Earth. The heroes of this transformation were cyanobacteria, microscopic organisms that had evolved a revolutionary new way of obtaining energy, photosynthesis. Unlike the earlier microbes that derived their energy from chemical sources, cyanobacteria learned to harness the power of sunlight, using it to convert carbon dioxide and water into organic compounds. This process was incredibly efficient, but it had one significant byproduct that would change everything: oxygen. At first, this oxygen production might not seem like a big deal. After all, we depend on oxygen for our survival today. But in the context of early Earth, oxygen was actually a toxic pollutant. The existing life forms, perfectly adapted to an oxygen-free environment, found themselves facing a crisis as oxygen levels in the atmosphere began to rise. This period, sometimes called the oxygen catastrophe, represents one of the first major extinction events in Earth's history, as countless species of anaerobic microbes were unable to adapt to the changing atmospheric conditions. However, the rise of oxygen also opened up entirely new possibilities for life. Oxygen is an incredibly powerful source of energy when used in cellular respiration, providing far more energy per unit of food than the anaerobic processes that had dominated early life. This energy boost would eventually make possible the evolution of larger, more complex organisms, but that development was still billions of years away. The cyanobacteria themselves were remarkable organisms, combining the survival skills of their ancient predecessors with this revolutionary new metabolism. They formed extensive communities in shallow coastal waters, creating layered structures called stromatolites that represent some of the most spectacular evidence of ancient microbial life. Stromatolites are essentially fossilized microbial cities, layer upon layer of cyanobacterial mats that grew upward toward the sunlight over thousands of years. These structures can still be found today in places like Shark Bay in Western Australia, where living stromatolites continue to grow just as they did billions of years ago. When you look at these formations, you're essentially looking at a continuous lineage of microbial architecture that connects us directly to Earth's ancient past. The process of stromatolite formation is a testament to the sophisticated behavior of these seemingly simple organisms. The cyanobacteria would form thin mats on the seafloor, trapping and binding sediment particles as they photosynthesized. As the mat grew thicker, the bacteria on the bottom would begin to die from lack of light, while new layers formed on top. Over time, this created the distinctive layered structures that we can still observe in the fossil record. But the impact of cyanobacteria extended far beyond these impressive geological formations. By pumping oxygen into the atmosphere, they were literally terraforming the planet, creating the conditions that would eventually allow for the evolution of all oxygen-breathing life forms, including eventually us. They were Earth's first ecosystem engineers, organisms that modified their environment so dramatically that they created entirely new ecological possibilities. The transition to an oxygen-rich atmosphere wasn't immediate or uniform. It took hundreds of millions of years for oxygen levels to stabilize, and there were periods of dramatic fluctuation as the planet's systems adjusted to this new atmospheric chemistry. During this time, iron in the oceans began to oxidize and precipitate out, creating the banded iron formations that we can still observe in ancient rock layers today. These geological structures are like fossilized snapshots of the atmosphere's changing chemistry, preserving the story of this great transformation in stone. What's truly remarkable is that this entire planetary transformation was accomplished by organisms that were invisible to the naked eye, working together across millions of generations to gradually reshape their world. They weren't consciously trying to terraform the planet, of course, but their collective metabolic activity had consequences that reverberated across geological time scales. Microbes as Earth's unsung heroes. The story of ancient microbes isn't just about oxygen production, though that's certainly their most famous achievement. These microscopic organisms were involved in virtually every aspect of early Earth's development, serving as the planet's first biochemical engineers, mineral processors, and ecological architects. Consider, for instance, the role that ancient microbes played in the formation of many of Earth's mineral deposits. Through their metabolic processes, these organisms concentrated and precipitated various minerals from seawater, creating ore deposits that we still mine today. Some of the world's largest iron ore deposits, copper mines, and even gold deposits can trace their origins back to ancient microbial activity. The process worked like this. Certain microbes had evolved the ability to use metals like iron, copper, and sulfur in their metabolic processes. As they consumed these elements from seawater, they would concentrate them in their cellular structures or excrete them as waste products. Over millions of years, these biological processes created massive mineral accumulations that became incorporated into the geological record. But perhaps even more impressive was their role as Earth's first recyclers. Ancient microbes developed sophisticated systems for breaking down organic matter and recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. They created the planet's first carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and sulfur cycle, establishing the fundamental biogeochemical processes that continue to regulate Earth's climate and chemistry today. The nitrogen cycle, for instance, depends heavily on microbial processes that ancient bacteria pioneered billions of years ago. Some bacteria learned to fix atmospheric nitrogen, converting it from an inert gas into forms that other organisms could use to build proteins and DNA. Other bacteria specialized in breaking down organic nitrogen compounds and returning nitrogen to the atmosphere. This complex cycle, still mediated primarily by microbes today, is essential for all life on Earth. Ancient microbes also pioneered many of the biochemical processes that we think of as quintessentially modern. They developed sophisticated systems for DNA repair, allowing them to survive in high radiation environments. They evolved complex communication systems, using chemical signals to coordinate community behavior across vast microbial colonies. They even developed primitive forms of immunity, creating systems to defend against viral infections and harmful chemicals. One particularly fascinating aspect of ancient microbial life was their approach to energy production. While early microbes were incredibly creative in finding energy sources, they were also remarkably efficient in using that energy. Many ancient metabolic pathways are actually more energy efficient than the processes used by modern organisms, representing evolutionary solutions that were optimized over billions of years of natural selection. For example, some ancient microbes developed the ability to use extremely low concentrations of nutrients, surviving in environments where modern organisms would quickly starve. Others learned to enter states of suspended animation during difficult periods, essentially putting their metabolism on hold until conditions improved. These survival strategies were so effective that many are still used by microbes today. The social behavior of ancient microbes was equally sophisticated. They developed complex systems for sharing resources within their communities, with some individuals specializing in specific functions while others maintained more generalized roles. They created elaborate structures for waste management, ensuring that toxic byproducts were safely processed and disposed of. They even developed primitive forms of division of labor, with different members of the community taking on different responsibilities for the good of the group. This cooperative behavior was crucial for survival in the harsh conditions of early Earth. Individual microbes might not have been able to survive alone, but working together, they could create stable communities that persisted for millions of years. These microbial communities were Earth's first ecosystems, complete with producers, consumers, decomposers, and even predator-prey relationships. What's particularly striking is how many of these ancient innovations are still visible in the microbial world today. The fundamental biochemical processes pioneered by ancient microbes form the foundation of all modern life. The cooperative behaviors they developed are still employed by microbial communities around the world. In many ways, ancient microbes didn't just survive the transition from early Earth to the modern world. They shaped that transition and continue to influence it today. Life's enduring legacy, microbial survivors. Now here's where our story takes a truly remarkable turn. These ancient microbes didn't just exist in the distant past, they're still with us today, thriving in environments that closely resemble the harsh conditions of early Earth. In fact, some of the most exciting discoveries in modern microbiology have come from studying these living relics, organisms that have maintained essentially unchanged lifestyles for billions of years. Take a journey with me to some of the most extreme places on our planet, and you'll find thriving communities of microbes that are virtually identical to their ancient ancestors. In the superheated waters of Yellowstone's hot springs, where temperatures can exceed 90 degrees Celsius, archaebacteria continue to thrive using the same metabolic processes that sustained life billions of years ago. These organisms have been living in these conditions so long that they've become perfectly adapted to what we would consider uninhabitable environments. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, around hydrothermal vents where superheated water rich in sulfur compounds erupts from the seafloor, we find communities of chemosynthetic bacteria that derive their energy from these chemical reactions, just as their ancestors did in the earliest oceans. These modern vent communities are like windows into the past, showing us how life might have looked in Earth's primordial seas. But perhaps most remarkably, scientists have discovered thriving microbial communities living deep within solid rock, sometimes miles below the Earth's surface. These endolithic organisms live in tiny pore spaces within the rock matrix, deriving their energy from the slow radioactive decay of uranium and other elements in the surrounding stone. Some of these communities may have been isolated from the surface world for millions of years, yet they continue to grow, reproduce, and evolve in their subterranean realm. The discovery of these deep rock-dwelling microbes has revolutionized our understanding of the limits of life on Earth. Previously, we thought that life required sunlight, or at least some connection to surface processes. But these organisms have created entirely self-contained ecosystems that operate independently of the surface world, sustained by geological rather than solar energy. What's even more fascinating is that many of these extreme environments serve as natural laboratories for understanding the limits of life itself. Scientists studying extremophiles have discovered organisms that can survive temperatures over 120 degrees Celsius, others that thrive in pH levels more acidic than battery acid, and still others that can withstand radiation levels that would be instantly lethal to any complex organism. These discoveries have profound implications for our understanding of ancient life. If microbes can survive in such extreme conditions today, it suggests that early Earth, despite its harsh environment, may have been much more hospitable to life than we previously thought. It also suggests that life might be possible in extreme environments throughout the solar system and beyond. One particularly compelling example comes from the Atacama Desert in Chile, one of the driest places on Earth. Even here, in an environment so arid that it's often used as a Mars analog for space missions, scientists have found thriving microbial communities. These organisms have evolved remarkable strategies for extracting moisture from the atmosphere and surviving on minimal resources, strategies that echo the survival techniques of ancient microbes. But it's not just in extreme environments that we find these ancient survivors. Many of the microbes in our own bodies, in our soils, and in our oceans are direct descendants of ancient microbial lineages. The bacteria that help us digest our food, that cycle nutrients in our gardens, that form the base of marine food chains, all of these organisms carry genetic signatures that connect them to Earth's earliest life forms. Modern DNA sequencing techniques have allowed scientists to trace these evolutionary connections with unprecedented precision. By analyzing the genetic codes of contemporary microbes and comparing them to fossilized evidence of ancient life, researchers can construct detailed family trees that stretch back billions of years. These molecular fossils tell us not just who survived, but how they adapted and changed over geological time scales. The study of these modern extremophiles has also revealed just how creative and adaptable microbial life can be. Scientists have discovered bacteria that can eat plastic, others that can survive in pure ethanol, and still others that can metabolize heavy metals that are toxic to all other known life forms. Each new discovery expands our understanding of what's possible in the biological world and offers new insights into how ancient life might have functioned. Perhaps most importantly, these living connections to ancient life remind us that evolution is not a process of replacement, but of continuation and adaptation. The microbes that first colonized early Earth didn't disappear when conditions changed. They evolved, adapted, and diversified, ultimately giving rise to the incredible diversity of life we see today while still maintaining their essential character and function in Earth's ecosystems. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this incredible continuity of life. Have you ever encountered extreme environments in your own travels? Maybe you've visited hot springs, seen deep-sea footage, or even just observed the resilient microbes in your own backyard compost pile. Share your experiences in the comments below, And let's discuss how these modern encounters with microbial life might connect us to Earth's ancient past. The microbial foundation of complex life. As we continue our journey through microbial history, we encounter one of the most crucial chapters in the story of life on Earth, the evolution of eukaryotic cells, the complex cells that eventually gave rise to all multicellular life, including plants, animals, and fungi. But here's the fascinating part: this evolutionary leap wasn't achieved through competition or conquest, but through one of the most successful partnerships in the history of life. Approximately 2 billion years ago, a remarkable event occurred that scientists call endosymbiosis. Essentially, larger microbes began incorporating smaller microbes into their cellular structure, not as prey to be digested, but as permanent residents and partners. These smaller microbes brought with them specialized capabilities, particularly the ability to efficiently process oxygen for energy that the host cells lacked. Over time, these internalized microbes became so integrated into their host cells that they evolved into organelles, the specialized structures within cells that perform specific functions. The mitochondria that power our own cells today are the direct descendants of these ancient bacterial partners. Every breath you take, every movement you make, every thought you think is powered by the descendants of ancient bacteria that formed this crucial partnership billions of years ago. This endosymbiotic relationship was so successful that it occurred multiple times in evolutionary history. The chloroplasts that enable plants to photosynthesize are also descended from ancient cyanobacteria that were incorporated into plant cells. This means that the oxygen-producing microbes that first transformed Earth's atmosphere continue their essential work today, not as independent organisms, but as integral components of plant cells around the world. The implications of this discovery are profound. It means that all complex life on Earth, from the smallest fungus to the largest whale, from towering redwood trees to human beings, is essentially a community of ancient microbes working together. We are not separate from the microbial world, we are an elaboration of it, a complex manifestation of microbial cooperation that has been refined over billions of years. But the influence of ancient microbes on complex life goes far beyond these internal partnerships. The very existence of complex life depends on the stable biogeochemical cycles that microbes established and continue to maintain. The oxygen we breathe, the nitrogen that forms our proteins, the carbon that structures our bodies, all of these elements are cycled through Earth's systems by processes that are still primarily microbial. Consider the soil beneath your feet, which might seem like simple dirt but is actually one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth. A single teaspoon of soil contains millions of microorganisms, representing thousands of species, all engaged in the crucial work of decomposing organic matter, cycling nutrients, and supporting plant growth. This microbial community is so essential that without it, terrestrial life as we know it would simply collapse. The relationship between plants and soil microbes is particularly intimate. Plant roots are surrounded by a thin zone called the rhizosphere, where plant roots and soil microbes engage in complex chemical communications and exchanges. Plants release sugars and other organic compounds that feed soil microbes, while the microbes provide plants with essential nutrients and protection against pathogens. This partnership, refined over hundreds of millions of years, is so crucial that most plants cannot survive without their microbial partners. Even more remarkably, recent research has revealed that these plant-microbe partnerships involve sophisticated communication networks. Plants can actually send chemical signals through fungal networks in the soil, sharing information about environmental threats, nutrient availability, and other important conditions. These wood wide webs, as some scientists playfully call them, represent a form of biological internet that connects forest ecosystems in ways we're only beginning to understand. The story becomes even more intricate when we consider the microbes that live within complex organisms. The human body, for instance, hosts roughly as many microbial cells as human cells. These microbes, collectively known as the microbiome, play crucial roles in digestion, immune function, and even mental health. In many ways, we are not individual organisms but walking ecosystems, communities of microbial and human cells working together in intricate harmony. Recent research has revealed that our microbial partners influence everything from our food preferences to our mood, from our susceptibility to disease to our ability to process certain nutrients. Some of these microbial species have been with human ancestors for millions of years, passed down from parent to child across countless generations. Others are acquired from our environment, creating unique microbial signatures that are as individual as fingerprints. This intimate relationship between complex organisms and their microbial partners represents a continuation of the cooperative strategies that ancient microbes pioneered billions of years ago. The same principles that allowed early microbial communities to thrive in harsh environments: cooperation, specialization, resource sharing, and mutual support continue to govern the biological world today, just on a more elaborate scale. Understanding this microbial foundation of complex life has practical implications as well. Many of the challenges facing modern agriculture, medicine, and environmental management can be better addressed by working with microbial systems rather than against them. Sustainable farming practices that support soil microbial communities, medical treatments that preserve beneficial gut bacteria, and environmental restoration projects that leverage natural microbial processes all represent applications of lessons learned from studying ancient microbial ecosystems. The search for life beyond Earth. Our understanding of ancient Earth microbes has transformed how scientists approach one of humanity's most profound questions: are we alone in the universe? The story of life on early Earth provides a template for understanding how life might emerge and survive on other worlds, fundamentally changing our approach to astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial life. When we look out at the cosmos today, searching for signs of life, we're not primarily looking for little green men or advanced civilizations. Instead, we're looking for signs of microbial life, following the patterns established by Earth's ancient microbes. This shift in perspective has opened up entirely new possibilities for where life might exist and how we might detect it. Consider Mars, our planetary neighbor that has captured human imagination for centuries. While Mars today is a cold, dry world with a thin atmosphere, geological evidence suggests that early Mars was much more Earth-like, with liquid water on its surface and possibly even a thicker atmosphere. If life emerged on early Mars under conditions similar to those that gave rise to life on early Earth, then Martian microbes might have evolved along similar pathways to Earth's ancient organisms. The search for Martian life has been revolutionized by our understanding of extremophiles on Earth. Scientists now know that if life exists on Mars today, it's most likely to be found in environments that closely resemble the extreme habitats where Earth's ancient microbes first thrived, deep underground, in areas where liquid water might still exist, in environments rich in chemical energy sources. Recent discoveries on Mars have provided tantalizing hints that such environments might indeed exist. The detection of methane in the Martian atmosphere is particularly intriguing, because on Earth, methane is often produced by biological processes, particularly by ancient types of microbes called methanogens. While there are non-biological ways to produce methane, the possibility that Martian methane might have a biological origin has captured the attention of astrobiologists around the world. But Mars is just the beginning. The outer solar system hosts several moons that might harbor conditions suitable for life, and our understanding of ancient Earth microbes has been crucial in identifying these possibilities. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, is covered by a thick layer of ice, but beneath this frozen surface lies a vast ocean that might contain more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. The conditions in Europa's subsurface ocean might be similar to those around Earth's deep-sea hydrothermal vents, where chemosynthetic bacteria thrive today just as they did billions of years ago. These organisms derive their energy not from sunlight, but from chemical reactions involving sulfur compounds and other materials that might be abundant in Europa's ocean. If life exists on Europa, it would likely resemble Earth's ancient chemosynthetic microbes more than any surface-dwelling organisms. Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons, presents another fascinating possibility. This small, icy moon has geysers that eject water vapor and ice particles into space, providing direct access to its subsurface ocean. When spacecraft have analyzed these geyser materials, they've found not just water, but also organic compounds and other chemicals that might support microbial life. The discovery of hydrothermal activity on Enceladus's ocean floor makes it an even more compelling target for astrobiological investigation. Titan, Saturn's largest moon, presents a completely different but equally intriguing possibility. Titan has lakes and rivers, but they're filled with liquid methane rather than water. While this might seem incompatible with life as we know it, our understanding of Earth's extremophiles has shown that life can adapt to much stranger conditions than we once thought possible. Some scientists have speculated that entirely different forms of life, based on different biochemistry than Earth life, might be possible in Titan's methane-rich environment. The implications of discovering microbial life beyond Earth would be profound, not just scientifically but philosophically. It would confirm that the processes that gave rise to life on early Earth are not unique to our planet, but represent fundamental properties of how chemistry can organize itself into living systems under the right conditions. Even more intriguingly, if we discovered that extraterrestrial microbes shared certain fundamental characteristics with Earth's ancient microbes, it might suggest that there are universal principles governing how life emerges and evolves. Alternatively, if alien microbes turned out to be completely different from Earth life, it would demonstrate that biology can take radically different forms than anything we've imagined. The search for extraterrestrial life has also influenced how we study and preserve Earth's own microbial heritage. Many of the techniques being developed to detect signs of ancient life on Mars are also being applied to study Earth's oldest fossils, helping us better understand our planet's biological history. The same instruments designed to search for organic compounds on distant worlds are revealing new details about the earliest life forms on Earth. This interconnection between astrobiology and the study of ancient life on Earth represents a beautiful example of how scientific knowledge builds upon itself. Our understanding of Earth's microbial past informs our search for life beyond Earth, which in turn provides new perspectives on our own planet's biological history. Before we continue exploring these cosmic connections, I'd love to know what fascinates you most about the possibility of life beyond Earth. Do you think we'll find microbial life on Mars or other worlds in our solar system? What would such a discovery mean to you personally? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's discuss how the story of Earth's ancient microbes might be playing out on distant worlds. Ancient wisdom for modern challenges. The study of ancient microbes isn't just an academic exercise or a source of wonder about Earth's deep past. The survival strategies and ecological innovations pioneered by these ancient organisms offer valuable insights for addressing some of the most pressing challenges facing our modern world. In many ways, ancient microbes were the ultimate sustainable civilization, creating stable ecosystems that persisted for billions of years while continuously adapting to changing conditions. Consider the challenge of climate change, one of the most significant issues of our time. Ancient microbes faced their own climate crises, including the dramatic atmospheric changes that accompanied the Great Oxidation event. Yet they didn't just survive these changes, they engineered them, gradually transforming Earth's entire atmospheric chemistry over hundreds of millions of years. Their approach offers lessons about patience, gradual adaptation, and working with natural systems rather than against them. The biogeochemical cycles that ancient microbes established represent some of the most efficient and sustainable systems ever devised. The carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and other nutrient cycles that they pioneered operate with minimal waste, maximum efficiency, and incredible resilience to disruption. Modern environmental engineers are increasingly looking to these natural systems for inspiration in designing sustainable technologies and industrial processes. Bioremediation, the use of microorganisms to clean up environmental pollution, is essentially an application of the same metabolic versatility that allowed ancient microbes to thrive in harsh chemical environments. Modern scientists have discovered bacteria that can break down oil spills, others that can extract heavy metals from contaminated soil, and still others that can process toxic industrial chemicals. These contemporary applications are based on metabolic pathways that were first developed billions of years ago. The pharmaceutical industry has also benefited enormously from studying ancient microbial communities. Many of our most important antibiotics were originally derived from compounds produced by soil bacteria, organisms that developed these chemical weapons over millions of years of evolutionary warfare with competing microbes. As antibiotic resistance becomes an increasingly serious problem, researchers are turning to ancient microbial communities in search of new therapeutic compounds. But perhaps the most important lesson from ancient microbes is the power of cooperation and community-based survival strategies. While popular culture often portrays evolution as a competitive struggle for survival, the story of ancient microbes reveals that cooperation and mutual support were equally important factors in evolutionary success. The most successful ancient microbial communities were those that developed sophisticated systems for sharing resources, protecting vulnerable members, and working together to modify their environment in ways that benefited the entire community. This cooperative approach is increasingly recognized as essential for addressing modern global challenges. Climate change, biodiversity loss, resource depletion, and other environmental issues are too large and complex to be solved by any single nation or organization working alone. They require the same kind of collaborative, community-based approaches that allowed ancient microbial communities to transform entire planetary systems. The circular economy, a modern economic model that emphasizes waste reduction and resource recycling, is essentially an application of the same principles that governed ancient microbial ecosystems. In these ancient communities, nothing was wasted, everything was recycled and reused in continuous cycles that sustained the community for millions of years. Modern businesses and governments are increasingly adopting similar approaches, designing systems that minimize waste and maximize the efficient use of resources. Agricultural practices are also being revolutionized by our understanding of ancient microbial systems. Regenerative agriculture, which focuses on building soil health and working with natural microbial communities, represents a return to the principles that sustain terrestrial ecosystems for hundreds of millions of years. These practices not only produce healthier crops but also help sequester carbon, reduce erosion, and support biodiversity. The field of synthetic biology, which involves engineering microorganisms to perform useful functions, is directly inspired by the metabolic innovations of ancient microbes. Scientists are developing engineered bacteria that can produce biofuels, manufacture pharmaceuticals, create new materials, and even help terraform other planets. All of these applications build on the fundamental biochemical processes that ancient microbes pioneered billions of years ago. Urban planning is another field that's being influenced by microbial ecology. Cities are increasingly being designed as ecosystems, with infrastructure that mimics the nutrient cycling and waste processing functions of natural microbial communities. Green roofs, constructed wetlands, and other biological infrastructure systems represent applications of ancient microbial principles to modern urban challenges. The resilience strategies developed by ancient microbes are also providing insights for building more robust technological systems. The redundancy, adaptability, and self-repair mechanisms that allowed microbial communities to survive catastrophic environmental changes are being incorporated into everything from computer networks to power grids to space habitats. Perhaps most profoundly, the story of ancient microbes challenges us to think about sustainability on geological time scales. These organisms created systems that not only sustained themselves for millions of years but also continuously improved their environment, ultimately making possible the evolution of all complex life on Earth. They remind us that true sustainability isn't just about minimizing harm, but about creating positive feedback loops that enhance the conditions for life over time. The invisible influence, microbes in our daily lives. While we've been exploring the grand narrative of ancient microbes and their role in shaping planetary history, it's important to recognize that this microbial influence isn't just a relic of the past. Every moment of every day, your life is intimately connected to and dependent upon microbial processes that trace their origins back billions of years to Earth's earliest life forms. Let's start with something as simple as your morning cup of coffee. The rich, complex flavors that make coffee so appealing are largely the result of microbial fermentation processes that occur during the processing of coffee beans. Bacteria and yeasts break down the fruit pulp surrounding the coffee seeds, creating the chemical compounds that give different coffee varieties their distinctive tastes. This fermentation process is essentially the same type of biochemical transformation that ancient microbes used to process organic matter in primordial ecosystems. The bread you might have with your breakfast tells an even more direct story of our partnership with ancient microbes. The yeasts that cause bread to rise are direct descendants of some of Earth's earliest eukaryotic microorganisms. When you eat bread, you're consuming the products of a fermentation process that has been essentially unchanged for millions of years. The same metabolic pathways that allowed ancient yeasts to survive in oxygen-poor environments now create the carbon dioxide bubbles that make your bread light and fluffy. But the microbial influence goes far deeper than food production. The very air you breathe has been processed by microbial communities that operate according to principles established billions of years ago. Every breath you take contains oxygen that was originally produced by ancient cyanobacteria, and that oxygen continues to be replenished by their modern descendants living in oceans, lakes, and soils around the world. The water you drink has been purified by microbial processes that mirror those used in ancient ecosystems. As water moves through soil and rock, microbial communities filter out harmful substances, break down organic pollutants, and maintain the chemical balance that makes water safe to drink. Water treatment plants increasingly rely on these same biological processes, using engineered microbial systems to clean wastewater and purify drinking water supplies. Even the clothes on your back may have connections to ancient microbial processes. Cotton, linen, and other natural fibers depend on soil microbes for the nutrient cycling that supports plant growth. The indigo dyes that color blue jeans are produced by bacterial fermentation processes. Leather is processed using enzymes that were originally derived from microbial sources. Throughout human history, our material culture has been intimately connected to the biochemical innovations of ancient microbes. Your own body represents perhaps the most remarkable example of this ongoing microbial partnership. The human microbiome, the community of microorganisms living in and on your body, contains representatives of some of the most ancient lineages of life on Earth. Some of the bacteria in your gut are more closely related to the earliest life forms than they are to the cells that make up your human tissues. These microbial partners perform essential functions that your human cells simply cannot accomplish on their own. They help digest complex carbohydrates, synthesize essential vitamins, regulate your immune system, and even influence your mood and behavior through the production of neurotransmitters. In many ways, you are not a single organism but a walking ecosystem, a community of ancient and modern life forms working together in intricate harmony. The relationship between humans and their microbial partners is so intimate that disrupting it can have serious consequences for health. The overuse of antibiotics, for instance, can destroy beneficial gut bacteria along with harmful pathogens, leading to digestive problems and increased susceptibility to infections. Understanding the ancient origins and fundamental importance of these microbial relationships is helping doctors develop more sophisticated approaches to medical treatment that work with rather than against our microbial partners. The waste you produce is processed by microbial communities that use the same decomposition processes that ancient microbes developed to recycle organic matter in early ecosystems. Sewage treatment plants are essentially managed microbial ecosystems, carefully maintained communities of bacteria and other microorganisms that break down human waste and return nutrients to natural cycles. Even your garbage is processed by microbial communities in landfills and composting facilities. The methane gas that sometimes escapes from landfills is produced by the same types of ancient bacteria that first learned to derive energy from organic matter in oxygen-free environments billions of years ago. Modern waste management increasingly focuses on harnessing these natural microbial processes to safely and efficiently process human waste while minimizing environmental impact. The technology you use every day also has connections to ancient microbial processes. The fossil fuels that power much of our technology, oil, natural gas, and coal, are the processed remains of ancient organic matter, transformed over millions of years by the same types of chemical reactions that ancient microbes used in their metabolism. In a very real sense, when you drive a car or use electricity generated from fossil fuels, you're utilizing energy that was originally captured and processed by ancient microbial communities. Modern biotechnology is making these connections even more direct. Bacteria are now used to produce everything from pharmaceuticals to biofuels to biodegradable plastics. The insulin that diabetics depend on is produced by genetically engineered bacteria. The enzymes used in laundry detergents are derived from extremophile bacteria that thrive in high-temperature environments. Many of the industrial chemicals that form the foundation of modern manufacturing are now produced by microbial fermentation rather than traditional chemical processes. The very concept of recycling, which has become central to modern environmental consciousness, is essentially an application of principles that ancient microbial communities perfected billions of years ago. Nothing in ancient microbial ecosystems was truly waste. Everything was food for some other organism, part of continuous cycles that sustained the community indefinitely. This perspective fundamentally changes how we think about our relationship with the natural world. Rather than seeing ourselves as separate from nature, the story of ancient microbes reveals that we are deeply embedded within natural systems, dependent upon processes and partnerships that stretch back to the very origins of life on Earth. Understanding this connection can be both humbling and empowering. It reminds us that we are part of something much larger and older than human civilization, participants in a story of life that began billions of years ago and continues to unfold today. At the same time, it suggests that by working with these ancient systems rather than against them, we might be able to create more sustainable and harmonious ways of living on our planet. As you go about your daily life, take a moment to appreciate these invisible partnerships that make your existence possible. The next time you take a breath, remember that you're participating in a process that connects you directly to Earth's earliest life forms. When you eat a meal, consider the vast network of soil microbes that help produce your food. When you feel healthy and energetic, thank the trillions of microbial partners that are working tirelessly to keep your body functioning properly. I'm curious about your own awareness of these microbial connections in your daily life. Have you ever thought about the role that microbes play in your food, your health, or your environment? Maybe you've tried fermented foods, composted organic waste, or been fascinated by the invisible world of soil microbes in your garden? Share your experiences in the comments below, and let's discuss how becoming more aware of our microbial partnerships might change how we live and interact with the world around us. The deep time perspective, understanding our place in Earth's story. One of the most profound gifts that studying ancient microbes offers us is a deep time perspective on life, evolution, and our place in the grand narrative of Earth's history. When we truly grasp the vast timescales involved in microbial evolution and the patience required for the fundamental transformations they accomplished, it fundamentally changes how we understand change, progress, and our own role in Earth's ongoing story. Consider the sheer magnitude of time we're discussing when we talk about ancient microbes. 4 billion years is a span of time that's almost impossible for human minds to truly comprehend. If we compressed Earth's entire history into a single year, the first microbes would appear in early March, but complex multicellular life wouldn't emerge until mid-November. Humans would appear only in the last few minutes before midnight on December 31st. This perspective is both humbling and remarkable. It reminds us that for the vast majority of Earth's history, microbes were the only form of life on our planet. They weren't just surviving during this time, they were actively transforming the planet, creating the conditions that would eventually make complex life possible. They were patient engineers, working on projects that spanned hundreds of millions of years, gradually and persistently modifying Earth's atmosphere, oceans, and geology. The patience demonstrated by ancient microbial communities offers a powerful lesson for our modern world, where we often expect rapid results and immediate solutions to complex problems. The Great Oxidation Event, one of the most important transformations in Earth's history, took place over hundreds of millions of years. It wasn't a sudden change, but a gradual, persistent process that eventually transformed the entire planet. This deep time perspective also reveals the incredible resilience and adaptability of life itself. Ancient microbes survived multiple mass extinction events, dramatic climate changes, and catastrophic environmental disruptions. They didn't just survive these challenges, they learned from them, adapted to them, and often emerged stronger and more diverse than before. The story of ancient microbes also illustrates the power of cumulative change. No single microbial generation transformed the planet, but millions of generations working together, each making small contributions, eventually accomplished transformations that seemed impossible. This principle of cumulative change operating over vast timescales is fundamental to understanding not just biological evolution, but geological processes, climate systems, and even human civilization. When we adopt this deep time perspective, it changes how we think about our own impact on Earth. Human civilization, for all its apparent dominance, is incredibly young compared to microbial history. We've been modifying Earth's systems for only a few thousand years, a mere instant compared to the billions of years that microbes have been shaping our planet. This perspective doesn't diminish the significance of human activity, but it does place it in a broader context that can inform more thoughtful approaches to environmental stewardship. The deep time perspective also reveals the interconnectedness of all life on Earth. The oxygen we breathe, the carbon in our bodies, the nitrogen in our DNA, all of these elements have been cycling through Earth's systems for billions of years, processed and reprocessed by countless generations of microorganisms. We are literally made of recycled materials, atoms that have been part of countless other organisms throughout Earth's history. This understanding can be profoundly meaningful for how we think about death and mortality. The elements that make up our bodies will continue to exist long after we're gone, cycling through Earth's systems, becoming part of other organisms, participating in the same grand cycles that have been operating since the earliest days of life on Earth. In this sense, we are temporary arrangements of ancient materials, brief participants in processes that are far larger and older than any individual organism. The study of ancient microbes also provides a unique perspective on the nature of intelligence and consciousness. These organisms, despite lacking nervous systems or brains, demonstrated remarkable problem-solving abilities, environmental sensitivity, and adaptive responses to changing conditions. They developed sophisticated communication systems, coordinated community behaviors, and engineered solutions to complex environmental challenges. This suggests that intelligence and adaptive behavior might be more fundamental properties of life than we previously thought, not requiring the complex nervous systems that we associate with higher-order thinking. The wisdom of ancient microbial communities was embedded in their genetic systems, their metabolic networks, and their ecological relationships rather than in centralized processing centers. From this perspective, human intelligence can be seen as an elaboration of information processing capabilities that have been fundamental to life since its earliest origins. Our ability to think, plan, and solve problems represents a continuation and amplification of adaptive strategies that microbes pioneered billions of years ago. The deep time perspective also offers hope for addressing contemporary challenges. If ancient microbes could gradually transform an entire planet over millions of years, then surely human communities, working together with conscious intention and scientific understanding, can address the environmental and social challenges we face today. The key may be to adopt the same patience, persistence, and collaborative approach that made ancient microbial transformations possible. This doesn't mean that urgent problems can wait millions of years to be solved, but rather that we need to think in terms of long-term, sustainable solutions that work with natural systems rather than against them. Ancient microbes succeeded not by conquering their environment, but by gradually modifying it in ways that enhanced conditions for life. This cooperative approach to environmental engineering might serve as a model for human approaches to sustainability and environmental restoration. The deep time perspective also encourages a sense of wonder and gratitude for the incredible chain of events and processes that made our existence possible. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought you think is made possible by transformations that began billions of years ago with the first microbial communities. We are the temporary beneficiaries of an unbroken chain of life that stretches back to Earth's earliest days. The continuing story, modern discoveries, and future possibilities. Our understanding of ancient microbes and their role in Earth's history is not a closed chapter, but an actively evolving story with new discoveries regularly reshaping our knowledge and opening up exciting new possibilities for the future. Recent advances in technology, particularly in DNA sequencing, microscopy, and geochemical analysis, are revealing details about ancient microbial life that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. One of the most exciting recent developments has been the discovery of incredibly ancient microbial fossils in some of Earth's oldest rock formations. In 2016, scientists announced the discovery of what appeared to be microbial structures in rocks from Greenland that were 3.7 billion years old, pushing back the earliest evidence for life on Earth by several hundred million years. Even more remarkably, in 2017, researchers reported finding possible microbial fossils in rocks from Canada that were between 3.77 and 4.28 billion years old, suggesting that life might have emerged almost as soon as Earth's surface became habitable. These discoveries are significant not just for what they tell us about when life first appeared, but for what they suggest about how quickly life can emerge under the right conditions. If life appeared on Earth so early in our planet's history, it suggests that the transition from chemistry to biology might be more straightforward than previously thought, with profound implications for the likelihood of finding life elsewhere in the universe. Modern DNA sequencing technology is also revolutionizing our understanding of ancient microbial diversity and evolution. Scientists can now extract and analyze genetic material from microbial communities in extreme environments, revealing incredible diversity in organisms that were previously thought to be relatively simple. These studies are uncovering entirely new branches of the tree of life, groups of microorganisms that have been evolving independently for billions of years. Perhaps most remarkably, scientists have discovered that many supposedly ancient microbial communities are actually much more dynamic and evolutionarily active than previously thought. Rather than being living fossils that have remained unchanged for billions of years, many extremophile communities are continuously evolving, adapting, and diversifying in response to environmental changes. This suggests that evolution is an ongoing process even in the most stable environments, with implications for understanding how life might continue to evolve in the future. The discovery of the deep biosphere, the vast community of microorganisms living in rock formations deep beneath Earth's surface, has opened up entirely new frontiers in microbiology. Scientists now estimate that this deep biosphere might contain more biomass than all surface life combined, representing a hidden world of microbial activity that extends miles into Earth's crust. These deep microbial communities live incredibly slowly, with some individuals having lifespans measured in thousands, or even millions of years. These discoveries have practical implications for everything from oil and gas exploration to nuclear waste storage to the search for life on other worlds. Understanding how microbes survive and thrive in deep rock formations helps us predict where we might find similar life on Mars or other planets. It also informs our understanding of how microbial processes might affect the long-term storage of nuclear waste in geological repositories. Advances in synthetic biology are also opening up new possibilities for applying the innovations of ancient microbes to modern challenges. Scientists are now able to engineer microorganisms with enhanced capabilities, combining the best features of different ancient metabolic pathways to create organisms that can perform useful functions like producing biofuels, manufacturing pharmaceuticals, or cleaning up environmental contamination. Some of the most exciting work in this field involves recreating ancient metabolic pathways in modern organisms. By studying how ancient microbes process different chemicals and energy sources, scientists can engineer contemporary microbes to perform similar functions, essentially bringing ancient biochemical innovations into the modern world. The field of astrobiology continues to be transformed by our growing understanding of ancient Earth microbes. Every new discovery about how life survived and thrived in early Earth's extreme environments expands our understanding of where life might be possible elsewhere in the universe. The recent discovery of organic compounds on Mars, methane in the Martian atmosphere, and evidence for past water activity on the red planet all take on new significance when viewed through the lens of what we know about ancient microbial life. Similarly, our growing understanding of Earth's deep biosphere has implications for the search for life in the subsurface environments of other worlds. If microbes can thrive deep within Earth's crust, they might also be able to survive in the subsurface environments of Mars, Europa, Enceladus, and other worlds that might have suitable conditions below their surfaces. Climate science is also being informed by our understanding of ancient microbial processes. Studying how ancient microbes responded to past climate changes provides insights into how microbial communities might respond to current and future environmental changes. This research is particularly important for understanding the role that soil microbes play in carbon cycling and how changes in microbial activity might affect global climate systems. Agricultural science is increasingly turning to ancient microbial partnerships for solutions to modern food security challenges. Researchers are developing new approaches to crop production that work with natural soil microbial communities, enhancing plant health and productivity while reducing the need for synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. These approaches, inspired by the partnerships between plants and microbes that have existed for hundreds of millions of years, offer hope for more sustainable agricultural systems. Medical research is also benefiting from our growing understanding of ancient microbial communities. The human microbiome, once thought to be simply a collection of random bacteria, is now understood to be a sophisticated ecosystem with deep evolutionary roots. Research into how these microbial communities function is leading to new treatments for everything from digestive disorders to mental health conditions to autoimmune diseases. Perhaps most intriguingly, some researchers are exploring whether the cooperative behaviors and problem-solving strategies of ancient microbial communities might offer insights for addressing complex social and technological challenges. The decentralized, adaptive, and resilient characteristics of successful microbial communities are being studied as potential models for designing everything from computer networks to organizational structures to urban planning systems. As we look to the future, the story of ancient microbes continues to offer both practical solutions and profound inspiration. These organisms remind us that life is incredibly resilient, adaptable, and creative. They show us that cooperation and community-based approaches can accomplish transformations that seem impossible when viewed from the perspective of individual organisms or short time scales. The continuing research into ancient microbes also reminds us how much we still don't know about life on our own planet. Despite centuries of scientific study, we are still discovering new forms of life, new metabolic processes, and new ecological relationships that challenge our understanding of what's possible in the biological world. Each new discovery opens up new questions and new possibilities, ensuring that the story of ancient microbes will continue to evolve and surprise us for years to come. What aspects of current microbial research do you find most exciting or promising? Are there particular applications of ancient microbial innovations that you think could be especially important for addressing modern challenges? I'd love to hear your thoughts on how the lessons from ancient microbes might shape our future. Share your ideas in the comments below, and let's discuss how this ancient wisdom might help us navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. The philosophical implications: what ancient microbes teach us about life itself. As we near the end of our journey through the world of ancient microbes, it's worth reflecting on the profound philosophical implications of their story. These microscopic organisms, invisible to the naked eye and often dismissed as primitive, actually offer some of the most important insights into the nature of life, intelligence, cooperation, and our place in the universe. One of the most striking lessons from ancient microbes is that complexity and sophistication don't always require size or obvious structure. These organisms, despite their simplicity, developed incredibly sophisticated systems for communication, cooperation, environmental modification, and survival. They created stable communities, engineered their environments, and solved complex problems all without centralized control or conscious planning. This challenges many of our assumptions about intelligence and problem solving. We often think of intelligence as requiring a brain or some centralized processing system, but ancient microbes demonstrate that distributed intelligence, embedded in genetic systems and ecological relationships, can accomplish remarkable feats of engineering and adaptation. The wisdom of microbial communities emerges from the collective behavior of countless individuals, each following relatively simple rules but creating complex, adaptive systems through their interactions. This distributed approach to intelligence has implications for how we think about artificial intelligence, organizational management, and social systems. Many of the most successful human technologies and institutions mirror the decentralized, adaptive characteristics of microbial communities. The Internet, for instance, functions much like a microbial communication network, with information flowing through distributed pathways and emerging properties arising from the collective behavior of countless individual nodes. Ancient microbes also teach us about the power of patience and incremental change. The transformations they accomplish terraforming an entire planet, creating stable atmospheric chemistry, establishing the biogeochemical cycles that support all life took place over hundreds of millions of years. No single generation of microbes accomplished these changes, but countless generations working together, each making small contributions, eventually achieved what seemed impossible. This perspective has profound implications for how we approach large-scale challenges in our own time. Climate change, sustainable development, social justice, and other complex issues cannot be solved overnight, but they can be addressed through patient, persistent, collective action over time. The example of ancient microbes suggests that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome through sustained collaborative effort. The story of ancient microbes also offers a different perspective on evolution and progress. Rather than viewing evolution as a competitive struggle where only the strongest survive, the microbial story emphasizes cooperation, mutual support, and community-based survival strategies. The most successful ancient microbial communities were those that developed sophisticated systems for sharing resources, supporting vulnerable members, and working together to improve conditions for the entire community. This cooperative model of evolution has implications for how we think about human society and our relationship with the natural world. Rather than seeing ourselves as separate from nature or in competition with other species, the microbial example suggests that long-term survival and prosperity depend on developing cooperative relationships and working to improve conditions for the entire community of life. Ancient microbes also demonstrate the importance of diversity and redundancy in creating resilient systems. Successful microbial communities typically included many different types of organisms, each with specialized functions but also with overlapping capabilities that provided backup systems when conditions changed. This redundancy allowed microbial communities to survive catastrophic events and adapt to changing conditions without losing essential functions. This principle of diversity and redundancy is increasingly recognized as important for creating resilient human systems as well. Diverse ecosystems are more stable than monocultures. Diverse economies are more resilient than those dependent on single industries, and diverse communities are better able to adapt to changing circumstances than homogeneous ones. The deep time perspective provided by ancient microbes also offers a unique view of mortality and meaning. Individual microbes, like individual humans, live and die, but they participate in processes and systems that persist across geological time scales. The genetic material, metabolic processes, and ecological relationships that characterize microbial communities have been passed down through billions of years, connecting each individual organism to the deep history of life on Earth. This perspective suggests that meaning and continuity don't require individual immortality. We can find significance in being part of larger processes and systems that extend far beyond our individual lives. The elements that make up our bodies, the oxygen we breathe, the fundamental biochemical processes that keep us alive all connect us to the deep history of life and ensure our participation in cycles that will continue long after we're gone. Ancient microbes also offer insights into the relationship between simplicity and sophistication. While these organisms lack the obvious complexity of multicellular life forms, they demonstrate that simple systems can exhibit remarkably sophisticated behaviors. The metabolic pathways of ancient microbes are often more elegant and efficient than the biochemical processes used by complex organisms. Their social behaviors, while lacking the obvious complexity of human societies, nonetheless demonstrate principles of cooperation, communication, and collective problem-solving that rival any human achievement. This suggests that we might benefit from paying more attention to the elegant simplicity that characterizes many natural systems. Some of our most intractable problems might be solved not by adding more complexity, but by finding simpler, more efficient approaches inspired by the innovations of ancient life forms. The story of ancient microbes also raises profound questions about the uniqueness of human consciousness and intelligence. If microbes can demonstrate problem-solving, environmental modification, communication, and cooperative behavior, what makes human consciousness special? This isn't to diminish the remarkable nature of human awareness, but rather to suggest that consciousness and intelligence might be more fundamental properties of life than we previously thought. Perhaps what we call consciousness is not a completely novel development, but rather an elaboration and amplification of information processing capabilities that have been fundamental to life since its earliest origins. From this perspective, human consciousness represents a continuation of the same basic life processes that allowed ancient microbes to sense their environment, respond to challenges, and adapt to changing conditions. Finally, the story of ancient microbes offers hope and inspiration for facing the challenges of our time. If microscopic organisms could gradually transform an entire planet, creating conditions that made complex life possible, then surely human beings, working together with conscious intention and scientific understanding, can address the environmental and social challenges we face today. The key is to learn from the example of ancient microbes, to be patient, persistent, and collaborative, to work with natural systems rather than against them, to value diversity and build redundancy into our systems, and to think in terms of long-term, sustainable solutions rather than quick fixes. Conclusion: our microbial legacy and future. As our journey through the world of ancient microbes draws to a close, we find ourselves with a fundamentally transformed understanding of life, Earth's history, and our place in the grand narrative of existence. These invisible architects of our world have taught us that the most profound changes often come from the smallest agents, working patiently across vast timescales to create transformations that seem impossible when viewed from the perspective of a single lifetime. We've learned that life is far more resilient, creative, and cooperative than we might have imagined. The ancient microbes that first colonized Earth's harsh environments didn't just survive, they thrived, adapted, and ultimately created the conditions that made all subsequent life possible. They remind us that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, life finds a way not just to persist, but to transform obstacles into opportunities. The story of ancient microbes also reveals the deep interconnectedness of all life on Earth. The oxygen we breathe, the carbon in our bodies, the fundamental biochemical processes that sustain us all trace their origins back to innovations pioneered by these microscopic pioneers. We are not separate from the microbial world, we are an expression of it, a complex manifestation of the same cooperative principles that allowed early microbial communities to transform our planet. This understanding carries with it both humility and responsibility. Humility, because it reminds us that human civilization, for all its apparent dominance, represents just the latest chapter in a story that began billions of years ago with the first microbial communities. We are newcomers to Earth, temporary participants in processes that were already ancient when the first humans appeared. But this perspective also carries profound responsibility. We have inherited a planet that was carefully engineered over billions of years by countless generations of microorganisms. The stable climate, breathable atmosphere, fertile soils, and rich ecosystems that support human civilization are all products of microbial activity stretching back to the dawn of life. We are the beneficiaries of the longest-running engineering project in Earth's history. The innovations and survival strategies of ancient microbes offer us a roadmap for creating a more sustainable and resilient future. Their emphasis on cooperation over competition, their patient approach to large-scale transformation, their sophisticated recycling systems, and their ability to thrive in challenging conditions all provide models for addressing contemporary challenges. As we face issues like climate change, resource depletion, and environmental degradation, We can learn from the example of ancient microbes who successfully managed similar planetary scale transformations. The key is to work with natural systems rather than against them, to think in terms of long-term sustainability rather than short-term gains, and to recognize that the most profound changes often result from collective action sustained over time. The search for life beyond Earth has been transformed by our understanding of ancient microbes. These organisms have shown us that life can emerge and thrive in conditions that we once thought were completely inhospitable. They've expanded our understanding of what's possible in terms of biochemistry, metabolism, and environmental adaptation. As we search for life on Mars, Europa, Enceladus, and other worlds, we're essentially looking for the cosmic relatives of Earth's ancient microbes. But perhaps the most important lesson from ancient microbes is about the nature of legacy and continuity. Individual organisms come and go, but the processes they participate in, the innovations they develop, and the communities they build can persist across geological time scales. The ancient microbes that first began producing oxygen billions of years ago are long gone as individuals, but their descendants continue this essential work today, maintaining the atmospheric chemistry that makes complex life possible. This offers a powerful perspective on our own lives and our potential contributions to the world. While we may not live to see the full results of our efforts to address environmental challenges or build more sustainable societies, we can contribute to processes and movements that will continue long after we're gone. Like the ancient microbes who gradually transformed Earth's atmosphere, we can be part of slow, patient transformations that ultimately make the world better for future generations. The story of ancient microbes also reminds us that some of the most important work happens invisibly, without recognition or acclaim. These organisms transformed an entire planet without anyone noticing or celebrating their achievements. They remind us that meaningful contributions don't always require fame or recognition. They require dedication, persistence, and commitment to something larger than ourselves. As we continue to study these remarkable organisms, new discoveries will undoubtedly continue to surprise and inspire us. The field of microbiology is advancing rapidly, with new technologies revealing previously unknown aspects of microbial life and evolution. Each new discovery adds another chapter to this incredible story and offers new insights into the nature of life itself. The ancient microbes that began life's great adventure on Earth billions of years ago continue to influence every aspect of our existence today. They are still with us in the bacteria that help us digest our food, in the microbes that cycle nutrients through ecosystems, in the descendants of ancient cyanobacteria that continue to produce the oxygen we breathe. In recognizing our connection to these ancient life forms, we gain not just scientific knowledge, but a sense of wonder and gratitude for the incredible journey that has brought us to this moment. We are part of an unbroken chain of life that stretches back to Earth's earliest days, participants in a story that began with the first microbial communities and continues to unfold today. As you continue your own journey through life, remember that you carry within yourself the legacy of billions of years of microbial innovation. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every thought you think is made possible by processes that ancient microbes pioneered. You are their descendant, their beneficiary, and their continuation into the future. The story of ancient microbes teaches us that even the smallest actions, when sustained over time and multiplied across countless individuals, can transform the world. In facing the challenges of our time, we can draw inspiration from these invisible heroes who patiently, persistently, and cooperatively created the conditions that make our existence possible. Their legacy lives on not just in the scientific record, but in every living thing on Earth, including ourselves. We are all children of the ancient microbes, inheritors of their innovations, and carriers of their life-giving legacy into an uncertain but possibility-rich future. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through deep time to meet the true architects of our world. The next time you take a breath, feel grateful for the ancient cyanobacteria whose descendants made that oxygen. The next time you enjoy a meal, remember the soil microbes that help produce your food. The next time you marvel at the diversity of life on Earth, remember that it all traces back to the innovative, resilient, and endlessly creative ancient microbes who first learned to call this planet home. Sweet dreams, and may your rest be filled with wonder at the incredible story of life on Earth, a story that began billions of years ago with the smallest of players and continues today with each of us playing our own small but significant part in the grand adventure of existence.